Welcome to Talks with Stephen Bradley Waters. In this episode, I'm going to talk about trauma. So, I've been through a lot in my life, and I like most people, you're aware of course, what you've been through, but I think sometimes, of course, we grow, we move on, and we have new experiences, but it doesn't mean that we forget, and it does change us forever. I recently just posted a video on to um, my social media on TikTok. There was a bit of a trend going on, really. I think people that have been through tragedy, trauma, there's a soundbite you use, and you just put a little bit of text over the top, and it's like once I did the video and I watched it back, um, it just brought tears in my eyes, to be totally honest. And I just laid on the bed, and I can be like that sometimes, for all my strengths and like my resilience. I do have low moments, and they can be debilitating. Like I can literally just get upset out of nowhere and just like stop everything I'm doing, and it can get quite heavy. So I wrote on the post, she doesn't know it, but within a few days from now, her life will change forever. She'll be taken abruptly from school by her mother, blocked from everyone she loves, and relocated 250 miles. This is my daughter. I never gave up on her, fighting against false accusations. Life hasn't been the same since, but our bond is unbreakable. In a video like that, you only have so much space and time to, explain briefly what happened, but it doesn't go anywhere near revealing the heartache. For instance, after I watched a video and I see her upset, and of course it makes me upset. And then I'm thinking I probably should have added a photo where I was upset, because there was I've got footage from that time period when I was in tears, and I was an absolute mess. So we're both feeling the separation as strongly as each other. She's gone from this really happy, we went down the town. There's all sorts of things, and I've documented it in my book series, A Father's Daughter. Effectively, her mum was disappearing weekends, saying she's taking a break from things and spending time with her cousin. You trust people, you have faith that they're being honest, they're being transparent. Transpires later that they were meeting someone else, but that's not my business. I don't care enough about that side of it, to be honest, now. But at this period, at the recording of this video, she's off doing that. She's not checking in on the kids. This is my daughter. I was a stepchild, but she was spending time with the grandparents. So, again, that was to create another narrative to fit their agenda later on, which I wasn't aware of, because, of course, I didn't know the plan to destabilize and try and destroy me, to be totally honest. So while that's all getting plotted and very conniving, deceiving, I'm spending time with my daughter. So I'm taking her into town. We're having father and daughter moments. And this is us just, I don't know if the sound's going to do it.
He doesn't know it, but a year from now, our family will be torn apart.
You can see she's laughing, having fun. We've literally just parked the car in the car park, headed into town. We're just walking up to the high street at this point.
Now we're far away.
We went to the cinema we like doing. That's something we've really enjoyed doing, is going to the movies and getting some snacks and things. And this is just in the middle of the high street, really. We'd watched, I think, the film Ballerina. I quite liked it. It was about an orphaned girl. It's an animated movie. So she's come out really inspired with dance, and that's why she did this dance in the middle of the high street.
We won't see or talk to him for 5 years. And as we sit on the hood of our car, baby,
and this is the aftermath. This is the aftermath. So you've got a child that's happy, enjoying life, doesn't really know what's going on between her parents. I didn't know what was going on. I was broken myself, and all communication was blocked, so I couldn't even communicate with her. I didn't know what was being said to her. At this point, she doesn't even know that I'm fighting to see her, or that she doesn't know the extent of it. Of course, as time goes on, you can only fill in the gaps, really, the blanks. To think, what is she being told? Why does she think I haven't bothered to speak to her yet? And all these things, and people can create any narrative to make you look like really like you don't care anymore. And that's never been the case with her. I've fought tooth and nail. It's documented in my book, but at this stage, she's getting upset. This was a bit further on these videos. These, for instance, we had the family court, but it kept getting stop and start, stop and start. A lot of obstructions purposely to try to derail my application. Really, the longer you can keep us apart, the more you can argue that a new life has been settled. It's all these little things, and then try to make me be the bad guy, to make them look good. It's all these things, not recognizing child in the middle of this. And either way, this is their parent you're saying this about. I only ever talk facts. I would never lie about the other parent. I try not to even talk about it too much now. That's why I've done the books. The books were there, so I don't talk about it so much. But then I see other people be courageous telling their stories, and I just think it's really important that we all share our stories. And it's like, I'd rather not, of course. I don't want to resurface things for my daughter's sake, really. But if it's going to help people, I think it's really important we do so. So as you can see here, like, she's really upset. She said to me videos, and it's like, I miss you all. And you can see she's in tears. She's struggling to cope. This is throughout family court at this point, when our contact was stop-start. So we would be having the best time we can in the circumstances. It wasn't ideal. And I'd say now, even today, life isn't the same. At least it isn't for me. I carry a lot of trauma. I'm strong. I can communicate. I can cope. If you ask me, I say it a lot. If you ask me, am I happy? I'm not happy. I haven't been happy in a long time. My heart was taken from me. And it's like, that's the reality. In the past, I was more lighthearted. I have that in sporadic moments in the right company, but I'm tired a lot. Life is tiring to me now. I don't trust people so much. I'm happy to separate myself and be alone. It's like, these are all the consequences of the trauma. I think sometimes it makes you strong, because you become adaptable and you start seeing people more clearly. So we can analyze better from the circumstance, but it's changed me in a profound way, for sure. It's had a huge bearing on my life. So yeah, we're seeing each other. I'm following the law, the court's law. I'm having to read oaths in court to say, look, you will return her after your they call it contact sessions, your times together. And I've never ever refused to return her. So I was like, of course, I'm not her mother. I don't do what she does. I don't behave in this way. It doesn't benefit my daughter at all. I want to bring her home, but it can only happen if it's right. Otherwise, she's back and forth, back and forth. What would be the point of that? Why, I'm not dysfunctional. So there was lies spread the whole way through proceedings to constantly stop us seeing each other. And it was always about hurting me. But look at the consequence it had on our daughter, though. And I kept saying that, like, why can't you just look at what's happening here? Stop fighting, like, me personally, and look at the bigger picture like I do. And you can see the suffering here. It's like, I miss you all. And it's like, it's not just missing me at all. It's like the whole family, And she tries to keep a brave face, and it's hard. So I shared father's daughters what exactly happened as it happened initially through family court, and the whole process throughout, the trauma, the constant stop-starts, the separation, the anxiety, me processing the hurt, the trauma, the separation from my mother even. I was like conflicted. Halfway through, I still absolutely loved her mother. So I was having a hard time fighting for my daughter while having to compete, really, and combat her mother. So I'm having to defend myself, but I'm trying to be as gracious as I can. I'm trying to be like amicable, and it's like a losing battle. And then a switch flipped in my head. It reached a point where I saw the damage it was doing to our daughter, all this accusation, all this stop-start, the suspension of contact, promising my daughter that's what was happening. My daughter was getting promised by her mother that she'll get sleepovers with me, we'll do things, all these wonderful things. And then she would, instead, in the next court hearing, she would do everything she can to stop us even seeing each other, let alone have those. So it's like, why don't stop lying to her? So all these stop-starts were just so traumatic. And I say, a switch just flipped in my head one day, and I just said, right, the gloves are off. This is war. And at that point, I just fought fire with fire. And I just kept going after her in court. I was just like, I was like a machine, Yeah. A heartbroken daughter is what happened after family court, because I recognised the naivety of the court system. They make a judgment, and they leave parties just to get on with it, and that's what happens after, and that was a documentation of that. I have done since, so that was 2019 and 2020. So of course she's older now. This all happened just before, literally days before. Like, I'm talking days. Um, I think it was like 4 days before her birthday. Like, literally. So she was just about to turn 7 years old. Um, she's 15 in a few months. So it's a long period here. This has been 7, 8 years now. So it's about nearly 8 years since um, everything that happened, and our life has took a turn, and ups and downs. It's sometimes a mess. We found some normality now in the circumstance, but all the way up to today, even my daughter's always said she wants to come home, she wants to be with me, and it's just like it's been a bit unfair. I've had to adapt things. I've had to constantly stop and start jobs. There's been things around that because jobs are not always accommodating with holidays and times to spend time. And it's like, what's more important to me, money or my daughter? My daughter. Then it makes me look lazy. It makes me look unhinged because you're not maybe financially stable. But it's like I can't win. I can't win, man. I've never been able to win. It's never nothing. My life has never been fair. Nothing's ever been straightforward. Um, Going further back into sort of the relationship, and if I just transition to this one, going back into the relationship, even her mother had mental health issues throughout the relationship. She was very unhinged and very impulsive at times. Life was hard. I don't want to go too deep into it all, but I never got the respect I feel I deserved from anyone. I was always considered lazy, even though, and I was putting my life on hold to be supportive. Finances were hard. And like I say, and then this happens, and you've got to juggle everything. It's impossible. It's truly impossible to be able to always be available and be financially responsible. You can't balance it. It's not an even balance. Something has to give, and you have to ask yourself what's more important to you in your life. Like, genuinely, you have no choice. You can't go, well, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. You have to make a decision. She's literally 250 miles away. And it's wild. It really is wild. And I had to do all the travel. Again, the other party wanted to make my life a misery. They're trying to do everything they can to start a new life, really, and push me out the picture without a thought for the long term. It's more like, what do they want today? Oh, I've jumped into a relationship. I'm going to pretend there's a friend that's helping me. Meanwhile, they're really engaged. And at the exact day after court. So when court proceedings finished, it was like a fine balance between where my daughter resides. It was that fine, and it's documented in the book. And because I was already located up there, I'd been staying at a hotel for the court hearings. It was deemed, we requested that, can I see my daughter while we're here now, because we're already here. Can we make a contact session? So we've made a contact session for the next day. Bear in mind, this person's been a friend the whole way through court. My daughter told me early on that they're engaged, so I'm like, that's obviously a relationship, but it's just a friend. Soon as court proceedings finished the next day, my daughter mentioned that the person had now moved in with them, like literally immediately after court. It's like, this is just a joke. This is what I'm dealing with, though. It's like the lies on top of lies on top of lies. You can never trust someone once they're lying. But it's impossible when the distance is that vast and you're having to do it all. You just can't. I tried to make it work with working and jobs and things. Like, we used to do weekends. That was part of the agreement. I would do alternate weekends. But that was 500-mile like round trip. So I pick her up from. I was doing this literally. It was killing me. By the way, because I was like running on empty all the time. So I would leave. I can't remember what time I'd leave now. I think it was like 10 a.m. or something silly. It was something silly. It was early in the morning, and I would get in a car, and it'd be like a 4-hour trip, depending on traffic, of course, and if I have to stop. But for the most part, a 4-hour trip. So I'd have to drive all the way up the country, and I would just make it. Sometimes sometimes she had to just wait in the little reception bit for every 10 minutes, because literally I can't judge traffic that, it's impossible. That distance, anything can happen. You're going through cities, towns, all sorts of things. And I'm picking her up from school. And of course, she's excited. I'm really excited. Like, this was well worth the trip. So like, I pick her up from school, and she's all excited and she's all fresh. And of course, now we're going home, and I've literally just drove 250 miles, pick her up from school. We get in the car. Let's head back. That's another 250 miles without rest. By the way, this is like 500 miles. This, and I'm burnt out. I'm trying, and I'm even doing. I started finding jobs, and I was coming. I don't know. I was trying to do things after work, and I was trying, and so I was picking her up later, maybe 8 o'clock at night, and we're getting back at midnight. It was crazy. And then I'd have to do the trip again on a Sunday to take her home and try to, and then go to work on a Monday. And it was like, this is outrageous. I'm not resting. I'm getting nothing. It cost a lot in fuel, of course. It becoming practical to make. It was like, what can you do? So you're trying to find a balance. In the end, without the job, you can't afford to travel. With the job, I'm exhausted. It's like you can't win. You just can't win. So gradually, it really was COVID that stopped a lot of things. That was used as a precursor to stop contact. It was suggested it's because of healthcare reasons, so you're trying to give benefit of the doubt, and then all of a sudden they've come up with excuses, and went back to family court because they were breaking the court agreement, and it was just they were obviously it was a bias, and I just thought I'm not doing another year and a half of this. This is just ridiculous. I'll wait until she's older, and I said that to the court. I'll be back. But I always knew it'll always be down to my daughter, and I don't want to destabilize her really. So as she's got a little bit older, like for instance, I always felt I'll go back when she's 12. Then in the back of your mind, you're thinking if she's 14, it'd be a bigger case for her, because I'd rather she was. I don't want it to be based on what I'm saying. I want it based on what she wants and her voice be heard. I don't want my voice heard. I want hers heard. So I'm thinking at 14, her voice would be heard for sure. And then at that point, you're thinking she might as well just wait till she's 16, let her finish high school. And I've always said that to her. It's her decision. I'm happy. Like whatever you decide. So so within that, me and her mum have argued an awful lot. I've had to block her in the end because there's just no talking to her. Everything gets twisted. No matter, even if you're trying to say something nicely, it's like it always gets misinterpreted on purpose. And it's like I can't deal with you anymore. I've warned you. I blocked her. And then she told my daughter, if he unblocks me, I'll just be direct and we'll do that. And then she couldn't do it. She still come at me. So I blocked her and I haven't spoke to her since. Been about a year and a half now, I think. But it's been a far more calmer. My daughter's old enough to just communicate things to me anyway. But yeah, I now don't trust people so much because of it all. The relationships. It's harder now. Like it's nothing's ever simple, Like we can't do the weekends. Just the distance is crazy. It's just impossible. She's tired from school and things anyway. As you go through high school, there's a lot of pressure on them. But we do spend the holidays together. Her mum started to give us a little bit longer now. Like she used to give me the bare minimum. So, like I used to say, it's like this is outrageous. You got every day after school, before school. You've got the weekends. And you're splitting the holidays. Like maybe, let's say they've got a week off school for 7 days. Maybe I'll get 3 days, and I'm like, this is just not fair. Like it's just when you add up the days throughout the year, we're lucky to get 30 days. There's 365 days to a year. You're getting over 330 days, and we're getting 30 at the most. You're getting 330, and we're getting 30. So when she says she misses me, and things like that, it's like it stands to reason because we don't get to see each other much, do we? And I think parents in separation, because they get so focused on the battle, they don't realise how limited the time is, So recently we've been getting longer together, but I recognise the reason why, but I don't really care about the reason why. It's more about me and my daughter, Like I said, I'm waiting for her to get to 16 and she can decide herself. She's aware of that herself. She's literally 15 this year. In a few months, she's 15. That means we've only got a year and a bit left until that time comes, if she chooses. But then soon enough, she's been adult anyway. How to type that every time you add an extra 2 years, it's like now, if it's not 16, 18, you know what I mean? Like eventually she's free. And I've always said that it's really important. I've always had a long-term approach and her mum's always had a short-term, but I think she's finally got it in her head. There's life after this, and it's really important you start preparing for that. And I've always said that, like, just focus on her making her happy. And then maybe you'll have a relationship with her in the future. But if you continue to be negative, you're not going to have anything, and that's your own downfall. Like, it's nothing to do with me. So it's really frustrating that you have all this period of battling when I'm still the same now as I was then. I was more argumentative because I had more to argue about. If everybody was fair, I was fair. You know, I was never ever trying to be the one that's causing trouble. I was always standing up and speaking up for my daughter when things were, when she was having issues. But I was always trying to be fair. I'm no different today. But like I say, it's my life is lonely, and I do get frustrated with it. But I can't. I just can't because of what I've been through. I can't put myself in situations that other people would like in terms of relationships. I've had false accusations. I know what it feels like to be going through that. So I won't put myself in a vulnerable position where someone could do that. You know, you just couldn't because I would have evidence to the contrary. Um, so I don't want to be in a situation where someone acts nice and they're not. You know, it's like it makes you skeptical. I think in love. Um, like it's like I've been given the biggest blessing in my life and then my worst nightmare at the same time. So it was like pulled away. So like I say, there's certain parts of us that I think die. New parts get reborn, regrowth. Um, I'm not as light-hearted and fun as I was. I still have it in me, of course. I wouldn't say it's burnt out. It's just dimmed. I think I've just make it more where it's only for specific people now. I set boundaries with people quite quickly and heavily now because I've got no time for drama. I've experienced enough of it. I don't care. I'd rather be alone in my own company than have anyone that's negative or toxic around me. So that's really where a lot of the growth has come from. I think we're just witnessing my daughter upset and frustrated has been really hard because you're powerless to a degree. That's been a hard thing to cope with because I was always incredibly protective, but I recognize that I'm limited and bound at the moment to how much I can do. Fortunately, you know, she has listened to me a lot, so she's very resilient now. She's strong, she's intelligent, and like last year, she was absolutely in tears. She spoke to the teachers. She was trying to confide in them for support. They weren't listening. You know, she didn't know where to turn. It was toxic as hell, to be totally honest. Like she was mess, and she just wanted to run away. She just wanted to run away. You know, she's telling me everything. She just wants to come to me. Um, and it felt like her head was going to explode, and no one was listening, even her mother. Um, but something switched, you know, over the summer holidays and things. I was trying to just tell her to see things from a bit of a different perspective at the moment. Like you've got to just think about getting through high school, and recognize hurt people hurt people. So when people target you, sometimes it's their insecurities. So just if you look at things and don't take it so personal, and just look at people, even adults, and ask yourself, are they happy and things like that, and just like watching people, and you realize it's less about you and more about them. And that really helped her. She started to see people for what they are, even kids at school. I told her to be like less confrontational, maybe sometimes take a step back. It's all right to speak up for yourself, and it's you know it's courageous, but you don't have to fight everybody. So you don't have to be right all the time. Even if you know you're right, you don't have to force it into someone's face. So, for instance, you don't have to argue with your teachers all the time. You know, if you relax a little bit more, you might find you actually find common ground. So she went to school with a different attitude. All of a sudden, she wasn't arguing with all the teachers. There's still a couple, but she was getting on a little bit more, integrating herself more in class. And she's actually found a group now, which she hasn't had in a very long time. And these are all independent people. These are all people with their own personalities. They're not sheep. They're not trying to be popularity contest. She's found her group and it's been beautiful. Like finally, you know, but it was like she didn't change herself to do that. She's still her. And she's had friends in the past who have betrayed her and things like this, but they're deceitful and they're trying to they're trying to change you, and she's smart enough not to change, which I like. Recently she just started dating someone. She's been excited. She was sharing everything with me. Like he's just like she was trying to confide in me whether to ask him out and things and get advice. And it's been nice just witnessing her grow and have these experiences now, you know. So I've missed out on her childhood, which breaks my heart. And I know it's upset her a lot throughout as well, because she actually said that to me. She actually said that, and that really made me upset. She said she's missed out on her childhood. She said that a lot as she's growing up. She missed out on her childhood. Um, and it's just something you can't get back, you know. And I don't know, in all honesty, I'm up in the air, like, in the future. Do I have another family of my own, or am I happy just to have her as my only child? I've always been someone that wants to be a parent. I don't know if I honestly, at this point, I don't know if I've got it in me to do it all again. I if this hadn't happened, I would be all for it. But now it's like that's a long process, and I've had to fight for 8 years for justice with this situation, you know. And you put your heart and soul into the first 8 years, you know. It's been quite demoralizing. Like I used to do all the school runs, taking her to and from school. I used to love going to witness her take part in activities at school. You know, when they do the plays and things. I used to love all that. To have all that life ripped away from me to a life of solitude, that broke me to pieces. It really did. Like it was. I can only compare it to a car crash, and you've lost everyone you loved in a car crash. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. It was traumatic. And not only did I have that, I then had false allegations of emotional abuse to contend with. And I just thought, this is deplorable. It's like my life is like rock bottom, and I've still got to try and fight back to clear my name. But I was like, there's no way on this planet, no way on this earth will I ever keep my mouth shut. There's no way. I would never allow it. I would never be a shell of a human being. It's not going to happen. So even at my lowest, I'll fight back. And look how strong I am now. You know, because you can't. It's like it's not going to happen. Because I don't care how people perceive me. I don't care if I speak up and people still don't believe. It's like that's none of my business. But you won't see me not tell my side of the story. So if anyone thinks they're going to try and bottle me into, like, put me into a bottle and keep me small, it's never going to happen. And I have all the evidence, of course. So that's interesting, isn't it? And I've always said, I used to say the truth is in the middle. You know, when you've got one party say this, one party, truth is in the middle. Now I just changed that. The truth is my daughter. She's the truth. So, I think that's the evidence is her. It's pretty much because she's lived it, isn't she? She's lived both sides of everything. She's had all the experiences. She might forget a few things here and there, but overall, well, how's your life been? That's interesting. But yeah, life's a journey, of course, and we learn from things, but we do evolve. I think for good and bad. But I think you can only ever no one's ever going to understand. No one's truly going to understand. There'll be people that judge you. The thing with me that I recognize is because I'm a strong, resilient person, people expect far more of me than they would the average person. So, like someone that goes through what I've been through, they could be a shell of themselves and have no ambition in life and really suffering every day to lift themselves up and inspire themselves, like to motivate to do anything in life. And you'd have every reason to feel that way. But I always see things like you have two choices. You can either sink or swim. That's how I see it. Like you can sink or swim. I just refuse to sink. So I'll just deal with whatever I can. You can juggle too much. So I think it's always just better just deal with what you can at a given moment. What can I do today? What can't I control? I can't. If it's out of my control, I can't focus on it too much. It'll just drive you mad. So what can I control? I can't control my daughter coming home. It's beyond my means. So I'm pragmatic and I look and I go, okay, time will bring her home. Time will bring her home. You know, nothing can stop in time. So we'll have to just allow time to evolve. That's all I can do with that. Okay. So what can I do with my time then? What can I do in my circumstance? It's not about what do I want? Because if I'm asking what I want a home. I want to feel that. I want to feel like home is home. I can't have that life right now. And I haven't had that life for a long time. I have it in sporadic moments for the holidays and things, but your heart gets ripped out every time they leave, you know? And then you come back to an empty home and it feels like, what's the point? This is shit. And that's being honest, you know? It's like, for all the achievements I achieve, it's meaningless. Sometimes it feels so meaningless. It's like, there's no point to any of this. And then I'll feel low for a while and I'll get upset. But eventually you pick yourself up and just say, look, my life has to have meaning beyond the circumstance. Your life can't be just about one person. It can't just be about one moment or trajectory of your life. You have to give yourself purpose. So because, you know, it's upon reflection, you know, I'm looking, as she was getting older, I'm looking, thinking she's going to have friends. She's going to have partners, like boyfriends or partners, whatever. She's going to go off maybe college or work. You know, there's going to be things happening in her life that takes her in different directions. And she needs the freedom to do that, not worry about me. So upon that reflection, I'm like, well, it's important that I focus on me too. Then, like, she'll focus on her life at some point, and I need to be focusing on mine. And I just think that's just really important. And I think that's where you give yourself a new lease of life, because you recognize there's a lot of life to live. There's a lot of experiences we can have. I can get in relationships if I choose. I don't want to, unless it's someone incredibly special. But I don't want to deal with all that chaos again. It was enough. I've had enough chaos for a lifetime. Personally, I can handle it if it comes to it. I will fight back if someone ever tries that shit with me. But let's avoid it if we can. Let's be sensible. So let's not like instigate that shit unless we need to. Okay, so that's personal there. What can I do, like ambition career wise? So I've tested the waters with like university courses and things like that. Wasn't really for me. But if we look here, like for instance, like I say, we've got my books. That's 4 of my books. Then you've got my father's daughter series as well. Um, every year since my daughter was taken, actually, weirdly enough. So since Family Court finished at the end of 2018, I've released a book a year. 2019 was my very first book, so I become an author off the back of it because I wrote A Father's Daughter, which was a documentation. That came out around about June of 2019. So from court finish in October 2018, the book came out June 2019. Since then, book a year. A Heartbroken Daughter 2020, Lose Your Mind to Find Your Soul come out 2021, 2022 was Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul, 2023 was Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul, and last year, 2024, was Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul, and there's more coming out this year. So I readjusted my life accordingly. I started focus on ambitions and things I want to achieve with my life and give my life purpose. And I realized that I'm a resilient person, and not everybody can overcome such circumstances. They don't always have positive role models. And that's really where my books really come into it, especially later on. I'm sharing how I perceive life, how we can overcome this, and give yourself meaning, really. And that's literally where I've gone. And I push myself in different directions. You see me talking on camera here. I'll do things. I'll jump into jobs when I think when I can. And you try to make a go of it, but sometimes obstacles happen and you leave because I've got too much integrity to keep myself in toxic environments, even if it's a work environment. One of the jobs I left September 2023. It was a bit of a mess. It wasn't what was sold to us. We was promised a lot. They under delivered hugely, but it was and it would be, physically it was hurting my back too much. But I was getting a lot of money. Like for a warehouse job, it was a lot of money. It was on like £28,000 a year in the UK. That's really good for a warehouse job. It was an annual pay rise. I think like 6% or something, 3%. It's like random numbers up to about 8. So effectively, a year or two after that, we could have been on £30,000. It would always be going up, so it's good. And I left because money isn't everything to me. That's the thing. If it's toxic environment, it's toxic environment. This is the thing with me, and it's the fun thing. I recognize a lot of people don't have that. And you call it integrity, but sometimes it's a case of it's temptation. It's like the devil tempts you with this, with all the money, the glitz and the gold. It's not doing you any good. You're miserable. It's destroying you physically. It's destroying you mentally. But they're offering you treasure. And too many people, they'll make excuses as to why they need the treasure. I'm not saying it's not a nice thing to have treasure and doesn't help your life, but when you're miserable and you have the treasure, you only have yourself to blame. That's the thing. So I walk away and I remove myself from that environment. It's been tough financially, so there's other stresses that come along the way. But I never for a day, never even for a moment, ever regret that decision. I have never regretted it. I will always remember how toxic the environment was and like how bad it was for me physically. And it was like no money in the world would keep me there. In a situation like that, no chance. And I have a lot of faith in myself that I can recover anyway. Like I know if, like for instance, back in an environment, in another warehouse environment, I can always jump into a place like I'm hireable because I have a good resume, I have a good history within it all. I'm very skilled at it all. But I also am acutely aware of how good I am at other things, like where I can talk on camera and I can share my journey and I can even write. I'm good with writing for my books. I think I'm very original in the way I share my story, especially in the written word. So I'm confident in my future. But integrity is really important to me, and and justice. So, and I think being authentic as well. Like, I'll share the highs, the lows. I'll share my negative flaws. I'll just share everything and everything because I refuse to be anything other than myself. And I don't feel bad about it. Too many people, they just try to posture as perfect, um, or fit into the crowd. I'm not interested in fitting in with a crowd because usually what you have, again, is where my books come into it. A lot of people, they follow the wrong leaders. They follow people who are inept, they're corrupt, and they'll just follow them because they have a position of authority, of power. But I can see through people, and it's like, why would I want to mirror that? Why would I want to mirror that? That's toxic. I don't want that sort. I don't want to mirror that sort of person. I want to be me. So even even under pressure, I'll still be me. And that's what I try to inspire other people to be. Be yourself, overcome your trauma, wear your heart on your sleeve, but own everything. Everything I've been through has made me who I am today. So if anyone sees my content, you think, well, he seems wise, he seems smart, he seems to know a lot. I've been through a lot. It's how you process it, though, isn't it? It's like I said, you can have a sink or swim. So you can either learn from what you've been through, and it'll make you incredibly wise, and you can become resilient, effectively a powerhouse, or you can be a shell of a human being. Not saying it's a decision. It's always a decision. Pick yourself up or don't. But I understand how people get stuck at the bottom. Sure, but I think it's up to us as individuals to pick ourselves up, though. Again, it's not dwell too much on the circumstance to such a heavy burden. Because, like I said, if you can't change something, don't focus too much on it. If you have loss and tragedy, you can't stay there. You can't stay there because you're living in the past. I say this a lot. I don't live in the past because the past can't be rewritten. It's permanently confined to history. All we can do is cope in the present and then build for the future. And I write about things like that in my books, And it's like, for me, that's just really important. And again, it's how I've learned for myself and my growth, my healing. But I think because I'm strong, and I recognize it here, like I reckon if anyone's got this far, you probably at this point forgot about all the trauma I've just been through, where I started the video. Because I'm so strong and resilient, I overcome all these things. But I think because of that, people expect more of me than they would of the average person. And then they do forget my journey, and they do forget like what I've been through. Um, So yeah, but I don't really look for sympathy or anything anyway. I'm too busy building, I'm too busy building myself up and evolving and improving. Um, but yeah, like what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And I just feel I'm obviously resilient, but I'm forever gaining knowledge from circumstances and experiences. Um, and my daughter's not always going to be small. She isn't anymore. She's nearly 15, like I said. Before long, she's an adult. And I'm witnessing a young lady become a woman eventually, aren't I? So it's going to be, how does she process the trauma? That's the thing. So that's what I do. I try to encourage her and let her see the perspective so she doesn't stay dwelling either. I think personally, I don't want to give myself too much credit, but I think if I didn't give her those insights as she goes, I always felt she would need a therapist. I felt she did because she was breaking down all the time. Like it sometimes was really hard for her. And it's because I kept giving her the insights to look beyond the circumstance. What can you learn in this situation? Because you can't change it at the moment. I know you want to come home and I know it's breaking your heart, but we can't do anything about that today. So you have a window, like you're going to school, you're at home with your mum and things, you're just going to have to, all you can do is make the most of that circumstance and learn within it. So use it as a chance to grow and learn. Before long, we'll see each other again. And we'll see each other for the holidays, and eventually those holidays will get us closer and closer to you getting your freedom, and then you can make your own choices in life. But if you dwell too heavily, it's going to break your heart all the time. So it's going to make you just going to suffer continuously. But if you just try to switch off a little bit, try and have fun here and there, distract yourself. Life won't be so heavy. And then eventually you'll process everything you're doing. And when you're older, rather than it broke you, you'll be really powerful because you'll see through people. People can't manipulate you because you've been through so much the average person hasn't experienced. So you just become a powerhouse, and that's literally what's been happening. So it's broke her continuously, but she's become so strong. And the same for me though. I've been broken so many times. I cried a lot over the years. I still do sometimes now. Like I get really upset, but the tears don't last so long. I don't. It doesn't keep me down as long as it used to. And I think that's where you just that resilience kicks in. And I think it's the same for her. So she'll still have low days of missing, but then it's like pick yourself up and let's move forward. Um, and in all honesty, I think if she chooses to, I think she'll inspire a lot of people when she's older. I think our stories they can help change people's lives for the better. I think we can impact the next generation. So I think it's just really important that we speak up on trauma, tragedy, loss, heartbreak, and it's just a healing journey. I think it's really important you share your healing journey because it shows people there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Doesn't always go how we want it, of course. It'd be nice to be able to sit here and share a story of I've got another family, and my daughter's integrated perfectly into this family, and we live in a fairy tale. That's not quite the case. But then I think our fairy tales change. Do I need that? I don't know yet. I don't know what I want for my future anymore. I know I want to be in love. I like it, like in love. So it's not just picking someone and going, I'm lonely. I've been alone for 8 years. I'm not in a rush to add chaos to my life. I want to be in love, and I'll know when I'm in love. Um, and of course, my daughter will be a big part of that dynamic. And if eventually it creates another family, then they're great. If it doesn't, then that's great too. We'll see where life takes us. But I do think our expectations adapt too. One where maybe your perception of a fairy tale was one thing. It doesn't mean you can't have a different alternate fairy tale. It doesn't always have to be so rigid. So things can change there'll always be this nagging feeling that I missed her childhood to an extent. I was always there. So like where Family Court started, it was like 5 months of I couldn't see her. It was like 2 months of nothing, and I was like fighting a brick wall. It was just like there was just no response. I had no way of communicating, and the solicitors were trying to get hold of them. They couldn't get anywhere. And that happened about April, round about to June. Then we started finally getting some freaking some sort of like interaction going, and around about July, I was able to start, finally communicating with my daughter, but it was by letter. But at least she's hearing from me. Then I'm sending her some magazines. So I'm keeping it. She knows I'm existing here. She knows I'm not. I'm aware of you. I'm not going anywhere. And then we're heading into court. I'm having to travel all the way up the country for court because court's always where the child's residing, which is where they relocated. Again, all these for specific reasons to make it very hard for me. Because they expect you to give up. Some people do. I didn't give up. So traveling all the way up there for court, and then eventually we finally get to see each other for the first time. That was really emotional, and it's at that point where she knows I'm not going anywhere. Don't you worry. Life will make sense one day. And I've never given up. We've always seen each other in the holidays and things like that. It's not been the life, of course, we chose or we desired, but we've had to adapt because you've got no choice. You can only deal with what you deal with. And like I said, unfortunately, we haven't had the childhood that we both would have loved for her. Unfortunately, you just can't rewrite history, and it's something we just got to live with. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't, when we're together, I can't just sit there and look at her and keep thinking about when she was 7. She was adorable at 7, but she's still great now, And I'm watching her grow and have these new experiences. I can't just sit there and live in the past. Yeah, when I see the videos, it makes me emotional because it sends me straight back there again. But when we're together, I don't look at her and think, oh, look at how terrible it's all been. It's like you just get on with life, don't you? You just move forward. And that's really what it is. It's important that we don't forget our history because that's what makes us strong and we gain from it. But we can't stay there. You can't stay in the past. Which is why I always said I don't want to talk about this too much because it just brings back those heartaches, It's like I'm growing beyond it, and that's why the books exist. In some ways, I'd rather people just read the books. But hopefully, it's been some sort of like help to people.